Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Warzone, every single year when we see a major integration update, almost seems to have the same sort of cycle happen with the issues and the bugs that a new integration presents, all the potential that an integration has beforehand. And today I wanted to talk a little bit about this cycle that Warzone seems to be stuck in and how the game just can't seem to get it right, because this is far from our first rodeo now, right? Dating back to the Cold War integration, we then jumped to the Vanguard integration, then we had the whole upgrade to Warzone 2 with Modern Warfare 2, the MW3 integration, and then most recently the Black Ops 6 integration. And every single time, despite, there being a learning opportunity every single year, we've still experienced a lot of significant issues with each and every integration update. It's pretty similar setbacks too, there is a year of progress made, there's a year of feedback given with the previous iteration of Warzone, then the integration happens, and there's several things that are just missing, quality of life updates that weren't added in from the previous year that everyone seemed to enjoy, steps backwards from, what worked well in Warzone beforehand. There's Warzone 2, which takes an entire era of Warzone and just says, hey, you know what? Let's start over and see what happens. It's a frustrating thing, definitely for the players. Obviously, you and me, we're both frustrated every single time there's an integration update because we know that there's gonna be significant problems. Things about the game that you're excited for are probably overshadowed by, problems and issues and bugs and glitches and all sorts of stuff there. And I know for a fact it's probably frustrating for the devs too, because then it's just a massive roadblock every single year. So what exactly is going on with this? Well, the TacticalBrit, fellow YouTuber who's been making some really good content in terms of like what's going on with Warzone, why Black Ops 6 feels a certain way, definitely recommend checking him out. I'll leave a link to his channel in the description below, but he posted this tweet the other day and it is so spot on in my opinion. He ends up saying it's time to have a frank conversation and simply say Warzone doesn't have potential, it has a ceiling. It's repeatedly failed to punch through that ceiling because every 12 months they pile in integration that they proceed to spend 4 to 6 months fixing. We've broken audio 5 times in the life cycle of Warzone, waiting on Battlefield to return, and I hope its offering replaces the current status quo. I do think for what it's worth, competition across the entire genre is only good for us. If Battlefield were to make another really good battle royale, that's good because that's going to push Call of Duty to actually do something better and ensure that people stay on their game. Same deal if Halo dropped a battle royale. Yes, we do have Fortnite, we do have Apex, they're decent enough competition, but I'd also be curious, at least with Fortnite in specific, the crossover of each game's major target demographics, so casual players of COD, how often are they going back and forth, or is it pretty much specific, hey, Fortnite's got its target audience, COD got its target's audience, and there's not really much crossover. There's definitely some regardless, but anyways, that's a conversation for a different day. Competition is inherently good for everyone because it pushes all areas to be better, or they just simply won't have an active player base, right? But I think TacticalBrit says a lot of really valid things there. Here's the thing though, how does this get fixed? Because fixing is something that is basically an ongoing thing with Warzone year over year now. As TacticalBrit mentioned in his tweet, we see an integration update happen. There is so much to look forward to. There's an awesome new map coming or new movement. In the case of this year, there's major quality of life updates, different fixes, all sorts of changes for pretty much everything in the game. And while a lot of them work as intended, and there's various different things that are really cool at launch or things to do that you can definitely enjoy, there's also pretty much always that significant amount of issues that surface. Some of them are major setbacks in things that just happened over the course of the past year that finally got sorted out. Other ones create new issues, and it's just this ongoing cycle of now for the remainder of season 1, the devs are stuck having to focus a ton on bugs and glitches and different fixes instead of being able to be progressive with their updates. Then season 2 drops and they still got to focus on a ton of fixes and a ton of bugs, and guess what? The season 2 update's probably going to also interfere with some of those fixes and updates and create more issues. And then season 3 is going to do it, and then season 4 is going to do it, and then by that point half the year has been spent trying to just sort things out, get things fully stable, and not have to worry about each major update causing some significant issue, right? And then season 5, things are usually pretty good. Season 6, oftentimes things are definitely the most stable and we get really cool updates. The meta is typically very balanced at that point. But then season 6 comes to a close, it's time for a new integration, and then everything just restarts. Season 1 breaks, season 2 fixes, season 3 fixes, season 4 fixes, season 5's all right, season 6 is super good, and reset. So again, how do you combat this? How do you break this cycle and have it so that the entire year can be focused on largely making progressive updates, focusing on new quality of life updates, different fixes and gameplay changes that are, actually moving the game forward and not just getting it back to a state that it was already at before? Is that fixed by having Warzone on the same engine as all the other Call of Duty titles? Well, clearly not. We thought maybe at first that was gonna be the solve, dating back to Warzone 1, where, 1 year the Warzone integration had to be with the Modern Warfare 2019 engine, and that was seamless because it was all the same game, right? But then Cold War had its own engine, so when everything ported over, that was super broken. And then Vanguard was like a hybrid engine of Modern Warfare 2019, so that still had significant issues. So what do they do? Okay, Warzone 2, new era, everything's on the same engine. All Call of Duty titles, every Warzone integration, it's all on the same engine going forward, starting with Modern Warfare 2022. And for what it's worth, Warzone 2 launched and it wasn't like too terribly buggy or super broken. It was just bad. So that just caused its own issue. We finally had a smooth-ish integration, but the game just wasn't good. The changes were not good. The way that they adapted gameplay for Warzone 2 just completely backfired. So then they had to spend the entire year basically saying, okay, well, how do we change this? How do we walk this back? Not really much progressive was done. And then the Modern Warfare 3 integration happens, and still, Warzone wasn't even really that in much of a great state at the end of the Warzone 2 era, or MW2 era. Season 6 was cool for content, but the game was still pretty rough in terms of playability and how smooth everything was and just the state of gameplay people weren't a huge fan of. So a lot of MW3 Warzone was just walking back the MW2 mistakes, getting back to that more classic Warzone 1 feel of slide canceling, movement-based, low recoil weapons, simplistic gunsmith. Pretty much every season had to be, hey, we're fixing the mess that was last year. And again, they didn't really get to do all that much in terms of progressive updates or actually, new updates, quality of life updates, interesting changes here and there. They definitely got a few out throughout a couple of the seasons, but unfortunately, most of that was in the later half of the year, season 3, 4, 5, 6. And so, as Black Ops 6 Warzone is in development, they're not necessarily getting the feedback of all of that stuff happening in MW3 Warzone, what we like, what we don't like. So then Black Ops 6 Warzone drops. Again, the integration is a mess, and there's so much missing from what was productive in Modern Warfare 3 Warzone and even a little bit of Modern Warfare 2 Warzone, and it seems like we're almost playing in an earlier state of the game. It's almost like we're in a beta now, whereas last year towards the end was a lot more polished, right? So now, going forward into the next few seasons, it's going to be redoing an update we already had before because they didn't get into the game for the integration in time. Fixing this issue that's now caused because of an integration, fixing that issue, again, stuck in the cycle. So clearly, having everything on the same engine is not an end-all be-all solve, okay, this will just make everything work perfect. Clearly, that's just not the case, right? Unfortunate, but just not the scenario. Okay, well, what other things could potentially resolve this? What if maybe there weren't so many cooks in the kitchen? What if Warzone just basically had its own dev team? Obviously, Raven leads everything with Warzone every single year, but whoever's making the premium title still has their hands on it as well. Treyarch is still involved in Warzone during the Black Ops years. Infinity Ward is still involved in Warzone during their years. Same deal with Sledgehammer. There is basically, all hands on deck situation going on with a lot of COD titles. Pretty much everyone is supporting a different studio and supporting the lead studio when it's not their turn to be the lead studio, right? But if there was a different dev situation where it wasn't, a new studio every year for the premium title trying to force their version of the game into Warzone, could that make things smoother? I think that's a maybe. I don't think it's a guaranteed yes by any means, but maybe that's part of a solution here. I think truly the biggest chance and the best chance, though, of fully combating these problems is to have Warzone be a standalone game so that it doesn't necessarily require full-on integration updates, at least to the significance that they are now, where it's basically adding in the multiplayer version of any premium title to Warzone with the new changes that they're focusing on, all the new mechanics, everything like that. I still think Warzone would be, heavily benefited from seeing a new game's weapons every single year, from seeing all the new operators added in, potentially quality of life updates that multiplayers have. But if Call of Duty Warzone existed as its own thing, and then Call of Duty Premium, aka campaign multiplayer zombies, existed as its own thing simultaneously, but they weren't always fully connected, maybe that solves a lot of these issues, right? This would, I think, definitely go a long ways in terms of sustaining Warzone long term. You'd have a much more clear process of, okay, how long are these weapons gonna stay in the game? How long is this content gonna stay in the game? Are you gonna have to worry about buying a bundle, but then it's going to get removed from the game entirely in a year's time or 3 years' time? You look at Fortnite, for example. Obviously, you can't make a one-to-one comparison because there is no multiplayer of Fortnite, right? Dropping every single year like Call of Duty, but Fortnite's been its own standalone game for its entirety, and that means that from day one there are things that existed in the game that still exist now, and it obviously still has its own issues like every live service game is going to, but it seems like long term its total lifespan, when you look at it from this perspective, went a lot smoother than what we've had now throughout the various Warzone integration updates that, just like I said earlier, can't seem to get it right. They're always in this cycle of mad potential, ton of hype into the integration drops, issues on issues on issues, just major problems left, right, and center. The next few seasons are spent fixing all of that, and then we get half of a year for things to be progressive, for there to be new additions made, but then the next version of Warzone's already in development, so none of those quality of life updates end up making it in for launch at that game. Then they're spent trying to redo those, and it just never ends. Something's gotta change here. There has to be a way to streamline this, to make it actually truly seamless, which has been their vision and their wording for the past couple of years, but truthfully it's been anything but long term. So that being said, that's gonna wrap things up for this one. Did want to talk about this though, because obviously it's very apparent that Warzone has struggled a lot already this year and definitely in years past. I'd love to get your thoughts on this down in the comments below, though. If you have any other potential solutions as to what they could do here, maybe to make things better going forward. While you're at it, if you enjoyed the video, you want to help share it around, a like rating is always seriously appreciated. And on your way out, if you want to guarantee you're always up to date with everything going on in COD, be sure to hit that subscribe button, turn on those post notifications. Every single day we are getting closer and closer to 1 million subscribers. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.